LFC Day Trippers, brought to you by bookmakers.com.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Day Trippers brought to you by bookmakers.com. It is another glorious episode of Full Time Reds. It has finished at a manic, wild, insane Anfield. Liverpool 4, Tottenham 3. Joined tonight by Kev. How'd you like that, Kev?
I'm grand. I'm
Yeah.
grand. I'm sound. I'm fine. I'm good. Good.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, and it never needed to be, man. It was crazy game. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't do things easy. We never do things easy.
Yep.
But we didn't really have to make it that hard. I mean, we did the hard work in the first 15 minutes, and my God. It is what it is. It's done. It's 3 points in the bag, and the fact that it was Jota who got the winner, and not Richarlison doing his little duck egg dance, getting it for a draw, taking his shirt off and celebrating a point, instead of like trying to get a winner. But no, all's well that ends well. Let's put it that way.
Precisely.
All's well that ends well. You take the 3 points, take the positives out of it, because there are plenty of positives out of it. But there's negatives as well that have to be addressed in the next,
absolutely.
sooner rather than later.
And we will definitely get into those. I mean, you said we came storming out of the gates, and it would have been incredible to see what odds you would have gotten after 15 minutes on Spurs pulling it back to 3-3 after we were up 3-0. And if you wanted odds like that, you should check out our show sponsor, bookmakers.com, for all of your best betting odds and all that goodness. Check out their YouTube channel for Gav's show coming out once a week, previewing the weekend's Premier League action. And for any other stats and comparisons you need to set your fantasy Premier League lineups, if you're still even asked with playing the damn game going into the final couple game weeks of the season. So from the top, Kev, the lineup comes out, and we got Alisson in goal. We've got Trent, Ibu, Van Dijk, Robertson. We got a midfield three for the first time ever of Harvey Elliott, Fabinho, and Curtis Jones, making his sixth straight start. And Luis Diaz, after, I think, 209 days, his first start since the 9th of October, comes back into the starting lineup up front with Gakpo and Mo Salah. What'd you make of the lineup?
Not going to lie, mate. The lineups made me nervous. It was the kind of thing that we talked about on Friday night, that I didn't want to see a midfield three of Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, and Fabinho. Delighted for Lucho that he started. The fact that he's had two, I think it was two off the bench, maybe three. He's definitely two off the bench, and the last one was a half an hour. So the next stage for him was to get an hour and see how he goes with that. No better place to do it at home against a side you've got good memories of. But this is why I said on Friday night I was hoping to see the changes in midfield, but I thought I was expecting to see the changes of Thiago with Harvey Elliott. Nothing to do with Curtis Jones, nothing to do with his performances, because I thought his performances have gotten better as the games have gone on. But I just thought if you're going to make changes, you got to keep some experience in there rather than just go for the two young players. And after a few minutes, I was like, what was I worried about?
Yeah, no kidding. I think it's just incredible, the run that Jones is getting right now. I mean, 6 straight starts after, just freak injuries and growing pains and all these things, even going back to last year, getting a finger in the eyeball and stuff like that. Like, he's really struggled to kick on after in 2021 when he got that good run of, appearances in the team when we were kind of injury ravaged. It's so great to see him come back. And I totally agree with what you said. He just keeps building on it game after game. And that it has to be why Klopp is persisting with him. I mean, it's not even persisting. I think he's making it so that the shirt is his, and Thiago's going to have a tough time taking it back off him for the rest of the year. But I mean, coming into the game, just a couple of stats, like Tottenham have 2 wins in now 36 Premier League appearances at Anfield. They have an absolutely dreadful, dreadful record when it comes to visiting Liverpool in the league. And I'm glad that we were able to continue with that. Seems like Kev is... Oh, there he's back.
No, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, no. 2 minutes, 47 seconds, I believe, was the official timing on the first goal. Salah has the ball in the corner of the box. He lays it back for Trent, and Trent just floats in a perfect Trent Alexander cross. And Pedro Porro is completely lost. Has absolutely no idea that Curtis Jones is ghosting him behind him at the back post. Jones tucks it in, 1-0. Couldn't be happier for the kid because as well as his performances have been in this run of games that he's gotten, he was due a goal.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's a really difficult finish. That ball had to travel. He had to see it coming all the way. He watched it all the way onto his foot and slotted it. It's an easy one to shank. It's an easy one to get underneath it and knock it over off your shin. You know, it was really well taken. And yeah, his performances have deserved it. You know, he's generally safe with the ball. He's good at running with the ball and taking pressure on to himself to draw other players into him. But he's also good at that side of his game as well. The ghosting into positions, getting into the box. You know, is deceivingly tall. He's 6'1", and he had a decent goal scoring record all the way through the age groups up through the 23s. But the positions that he's been asked to play for us so far, it generally doesn't see him get into the box that often. So it was a good start. It was a great start. It was an ideal start because in general, we started really well. Our pressing was really on it. We were forcing them to turn over the ball. We were exactly what we wanted to be, and then rewarded that with the early goal. You know, it's definitely what we needed.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we came out like an absolute house on fire. And I mean, the poor Spurs fans after their last trip to the north, giving up early goals. It was 120, 130 seconds later. Salah slides the ball in for Gakpo. It looks, to me, watching it, it looked like that ball was just going out for a goal kick. Yeah. And Gakpo just glides onto the end of it. Luis Diaz absolutely ghosts in front of the two Spurs defenders who are, again, completely unaware of the players around them. Like, just two examples in a row. Like, if that was happening with us, we would be losing our minds. It reminds me earlier in the season with Gomez and Matip playing alongside Trent when it just seemed like they had no idea that the other team had players that could be wider than the goalpost. And Luis Diaz, first start since October, back onto the score sheet. Oh, it looked like it was on.
Yeah, it did. You're right about Gakpo. He just looked like he opened his legs out and just, because that ball was going out. It just was. If that was anyone else, that was going out. But he opened the legs up and got the ball back, but he got the ball back with pace on it. And it was a brilliant finish. It was an absolutely brilliant finish. He shouldn't be scoring from that angle at the near post. He can't go anywhere else. It's poor from the keeper. It's poor from the defenders. But the shot was made easier by the power that came on the pass. So, 2-0, bang, bang. And exactly as Hansen said, bang, fucking bang. And you're 2-0 up and you're thinking, here we go. It's Newcastle all over again.
Yeah, it's certainly what it felt like. I mean, a couple minutes after the second goal, Trent feeds Gakpo through and it looks like he's going to get through. And Christian Romero, to his credit, an amazing last second tackle to get in and keep Gakpo from getting a shot off on goal. And then short-lived the praise for Christian Romero because a couple minutes after that, he absolutely sized Gakpo down in the box. Any questions about it being a penalty for you?
Oh, good God,
for
no.
Me. Yeah.
No. It was a straightforward pen, but it was really quick feet by Gakpo to make the pen. The tackle was there to be won, but it was Gakpo's quick feet that took the ball out of the way, and then the nerves will kick in because it's a penalty. It's Mo's stick standing up to take it, and you're like, he really needs this. If anyone needed this, he needed this more than anyone, more than any of his goals going in the past. He needed this penalty to go in because, and to be fair, the way he took it, that went high into the roof of the net. That was, more often than not, they're the ones that strikers get wrong and they go horribly high. So that just shows the supreme confidence that he went down the middle, but he went high down the middle. So even if the keeper, who's a big unit, even if he left a trailing leg, he just hadn't a chance.
No, he was never getting there. Yeah, Mo's last two penalties, he puts them wide left, trying to just be a little bit too precise and find that side netting. And when in doubt, just absolutely blast it right down the middle. And that's what he did. Chris Brack in the chat here. He was going to be on with us tonight, but he says, who doesn't love getting a last-minute ticket to the match? Shouldn't have come to needing one at last, but let off for Jota winner was amazing. Yeah, Chris was scheduled to be on the show with us, but the joys of being a local in the city, he was able to get a last-minute ticket and go to the game. So it's a pretty fun game to get to go to. It'll be nice to hear some firsthand accounts of what it was like inside of the stadium. I mean, I said before the match, I thought 5-0. I'm my usual optimistic self. I backed off from 7, and I'm not going to lie. When it was 3-0 after 13 minutes, I thought, fuck, I should have said 7-0 because it really looked like it could be absolutely anything. And Madge Apple had a comment I had up there that you said, I wonder what the Spurs fans who left after the third goal were feeling, sitting on the couch going home or outside getting absolutely hammered going, oh, shit. Now it's, they brought it back to level. I spare a thought for him. I mean, honestly, it's a long way to travel. I mean, it's not in terms of a Canadian sense, but over there, that's a long way to travel from London to Liverpool, London to Newcastle to watch your team put in performances like that in the first 20 minutes. They were dreadful. They were
really poor, but they were a side who were devoid of confidence and who looked like they didn't know what to do. And I got absolutely no sympathy for any fan who walks out of the ground early, ever. It's just one of those things. It's almost it's an unwritten rule for me. You never leave early, ever. It's just like, because we've seen it over the years so many times. You don't know what's going to happen. And the one thing with Liverpool is we don't do it easy. But I did not expect to allow Spurs in the way we allowed them in. We had our foot on their throat and we took it off. And I can understand at 3-0 up, 15 minutes gone. Okay, let's just manage the game a bit.
Yep.
See what they're going to do and then react to it. Because I expected Spurs to just take the handbrake off and just go at us. And they never did. They never did. Every single attempt that they had in the first half was from our mistake. They did absolutely nothing apart from the goal. And other than that, it was a bad pass to Robertson that he just lost a run of himself and they got in. There was another one, I think, that was a crossfield ball that Son was in with Ibu. And we were giving away from the first 15 minutes where we didn't give the ball away in bad areas. And if we did, we were snapping into the tackle really quickly and winning it back high up the pitch like you want to do, to just almost like a fear factor came in and we stood off and we allowed them to breathe. And they have too many good players to allow them that kind of luxury and time on the ball. And for their goal, and it's probably one of the biggest weaknesses of this system with Trent playing in midfield, is that long 1-2 that Højbjerg played with, I think it was with Son. And once you have this Ibu making that run to come out, and he comes out of position, Trent's already out of position.
Yep.
You play that 1-2. No, it was into Perisic, and you've taken everyone out of the game, and you're suddenly 2v2 with 4 or 5 Spurs players running at you, and Ibu cannot allow himself to be dragged out like that so easily by a runner that was going absolutely nowhere. He played the ball into his feet, played it back, and then into Perisic. And Ibu was nowhere. He just sold himself. It was really inexperienced, really poor from him. And then once Virgil lost his footing, it was a really simple cross from Perisic. And Perisic is brilliant with both feet. If you give him time to pick his head up, pick his head up and pick a pass, he's as good as anyone. And it was a good finish because Kane just volleyed it back to, straight down the middle where Alisson was and through his legs. Not much Alisson could do. But Alisson had a couple of saves as well to make, with his feet. So it was coming. You sensed it was coming. And you thought it's the last thing you want to do with a side when you're 3-0 up is give them hope. Especially the Spurs side, because they've proved against Man United in their last game, they're capable of clawing themselves back into games. They did it from plenty of times under Conte. They were a second half team. Where they'll come out of their shells and they'll have a right goal when there's no pressure on them. And that's what they did. We took our foot off their throat and they got into the game. And the more nervous we got, the more they kept coming. And we just couldn't get anything going the other way. It was so frustrating to watch, but at the same time, it must have been a nightmare for them to play as well. Can't imagine what it was like for fans in the ground. It must have been an absolute nightmare because they could see what was happening. The fans can see what was happening, and it's like it must have been so soul destroying when you saw what was going on.
Yeah. Well, I presume Bracky might be able to give us some idea of what it felt like in the ground because he's in the chat with us right now. And he said he's got no sympathy for the Liverpool fans that left at 3-3 trying to get an early jump on beating the traffic. You know, that's what you get. You stay until the end. This is Liverpool Football Club we're talking about. I mean, before Spurs even get their first goal, couple of talking points. I mean, 33rd minute, Oliver Skip. On another day, he breaks Luis Diaz's ankle.
Yeah.
I mean, I can maybe understand it not being a red card. I have a tougher time understanding how the VAR doesn't even instruct Tierney to go and take a look. Just go take a look and see what you think because you're the match official. You might not have seen it. He didn't even call a foul, Kev.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a foul.
Look, Paul Tierney is without doubt the single worst referee in this league, bar none. He's proved yet again that he's got an agenda. And I don't believe for a sec, human beings carry grudges and they carry agendas. So when Klopp called him out publicly, going back in, I don't know, it was last season or the season before, that's going to stick. Every which way you look at it, no matter how professional he thinks he is, that's going to stick in the back of his throat. And we got absolutely no call. He was almost shamed into giving the penalty. He couldn't not give it. It was straight in front of him. It was blatant. But there were instances, and to be fair, he wasn't very good for either side. There were incidences in the second half that I'm sure we'll get onto that, like the Jota one. Jota should have seen a red card.
That's what Kevin Ball says too.
Yeah. So it's like it drove me mad, but at the same time, it's not surprising.
Yeah, it was poor officiating all over. I mean, I'm just going to jump right ahead to it at the end. I wrote down, I think it's actually impossible to foul Mohamed Salah. Like, I think you could hit him with the truncheon in the back of the head and the ref would just let it go. That he ends up getting a foul called against him because his flailing arm comes up and it clips Davies in the face and, causes him to bleed a little bit from his mouth. But before that, Davies is all over him. And we've seen it time and time again. It's so ridiculous that Mo Salah cannot get a single foul call. And you look at players like Bruno Fernandes and Harry Kane and whatnot, that they just seem to get everything that goes their way. Just before Spurs scored, though, I would be remiss if I didn't say amazing goal line clearance from Virgil van Dijk. Just Robertson turned the ball over. I think it was the second or third time where he had a real bad turnover playing the ball from the outside into the middle of the field. And it immediately just invited the Spurs pressure onto us. It's what you were saying, that their looks at our goal all came from our errors and our being defensively lax and negligent. And it looks like Kane has fed Son in and Son's going to slot it into the open goal and Virgil gets back, clears it off the line. Happy days. 2 seconds later, they scored anyways. Like, shit.
Yeah, and that was my biggest fear. They had enough time. They had enough time left in the game that a third was going to come. We didn't get a shot off or put sustained pressure on them in any meaningful way in that second half. So it felt as if they got a second, they were going to get a third. Yep. It just felt like it was inevitable. It's been a while since I've seen us go into a shell like that. It hasn't happened often. Not since the Arsenal game anyway, that we've retreated back into a shell and played with pure nerves, pure fear. And they were saying in the commentary that Konate was just all over the place, and he was just a nervous wreck. Didn't want the ball, and when he got the ball, he couldn't wait to get rid of it. It was brutal from start to finish. It really was. But I was almost thinking to myself, get Joe Gomez on, put Trent on instead of Mo, and just revert to a flat 4-3-3 and see this out properly. But he never did. He's stuck with his guns. He's stuck with when we were on the ball, Trent pushing in to go into midfield all the way. So it looks like he's gone all in with this kind of setup. And they're not going to revert back to what they were doing. They're going to stick with this come hell or high
Three
water.
at the back, baby. 3 at the back.
I wouldn't mind if it was. It's not. It is. It's a halfway house.
I know.
And you wouldn't mind if it was, because if it was, at least when you're defending in a back five. You know, with in fairness, you look at what Spurs did and how passive they were off the ball, but you look at their shape, it was 5-3-2. And when you got a runner like Heung-min Son who can run in behind, is going to give you problems.
Yep.
Doesn't matter who you are. So as long as your service is right. But there are times in games when you have to manage it and you have to be flexible enough to read the danger, see what's there, and just address it and adapt to it. And I mean, look, we got out of jail. Make no mistake about it. If this game had finished 3-3, this would have been a very different pod at the minute, because people would have been going off rightly so, left, right, and center.
Yeah.
It was a horrific second half performance. Horrific.
Yeah, I mean, I said to you just before we came on that thankfully Tottenham Hotspur aren't even half the team that Real Madrid is, because very much like in the Real Madrid game, we came flying out of the blocks. We got a big lead early on, and then we just absolutely capitulated. And I think our performance in this game after we took the lead was actually worse than it was against Madrid. Like, it was just, we did nothing. We did absolutely nothing. The midfield, I mean, just talking through the player, I mean, I thought Jones was certainly better than Elliott. I think Elliott was really struggling to find his positioning in this new system. I didn't mind him earlier in the season when he was playing game after game after game as the right-sided midfielder in that 4-3-3 formation. He seemed to know where he needed to be. But in this new formation, he looked a little bit at sea out wide. He picked up some good, like, when he gets the ball in the half spaces, he seems like he's at his most dangerous then. You know, when he's got an option to his outside with his left foot, but he can get his head up and look inside, and all the passes are on for him with his left foot. But it just seemed like we was having real issues affecting the game, and it wasn't great. Fabinho was all right, but nothing fantastic. Jones, you know, another solid game. If he keeps playing like that, he's definitely got a future with this team, but probably not as a first choice midfielder, probably, you know, first or second substitute coming off of the bench.
Yeah.
It was just like, I mean, 53 minutes in, Son hits the post off of a counterattack. Lucky, just absolutely full flush. That ball hit the post.
Yeah, he beat Alisson Olins up with that one.
Seconds later, how Christian Romero is that open in our box? Not from it wasn't a set piece or anything. He just went walkabout, and Kane just about finds Romero for a Holland style, you know, flying ninja kick goal that Alisson thinks is going well wide, and it kisses the post as well too. And like, it was just like, holy shit.
That's when I sat there. I was like, it's coming.
We were 3-0.
Yeah, exactly. It was just, it felt like it was inevitable. And I know it was 3-1 at that stage. But
yeah, it was 3-1 at that point. But I mean, it was 3-0. And pretty much from like, we should have come on and started this show 3 hours ago. Or 2 hours ago, basically. We should have started the show about 20 minutes into the game and just done it from there. It would have been a much more enjoyable and fun show, because we were absolutely flying for the first 20, 25 minutes. Yeah. And then we completely, I mean, went into our shell is a perfect description for what we did. Like, no control on the ball. We had no like attacking threat really at all. Yeah. Gakpo, I thought, really faded out of the game when he was so good in the first 20 minutes. Just absolutely causing them all sorts of issues by dropping deep and picking up the ball and allowing us to switch play from defense into attack. Just
he was anonymous up until probably after about 30 minutes he was anonymous.
Yeah.
And there are times when you want a number 9 to be up front to occupy the center backs. You know, there are other times when he needs to drop off and create the box midfield and try to link play up that way. But he almost wants to come deep all the time and be everywhere, where if you have someone up front that you can play off of and get up the pitch, this is all going to be trial and error. The way this is evolving, the way this new patterns of play are going to take time to bed in. And we're doing this on the hoof because there's only so much you can do in a few training sessions. And I think that's the large reason why he didn't want to make too many changes too often. Elliott's going to have to relearn what Klopp wants him to do, and it's going to take time, and I've no problem with that. And there are going to be trial and error games when things go absolutely horribly wrong, like it did for their first goal. But there are going to be ways to address that by stopping the ball at source to begin with, by getting the press right from the off. There's no good in stopping pressing the ball when you're 3-0 up. If you're playing like this, you have to do it all the time. You cannot allow good players to get their head up and pick passes. So it didn't happen for the first 15 minutes where we were on them and we never allowed them any kind of time or space or anything. Anything that they did do was forced to not getting the press right, and everything came from that. All their work, good work, came from us not being as aggressive as we should have been.
Yeah.
But again,
and
that's going to come with time.
That's what Darwinian Chimp says here with the comment that says stopping the attack invited all the pressure. And that's what it was, is that we really just said, like, oh, we're up 3-0. We don't need to go with what we've been doing, what's gotten us all of our glories and honors in the last couple of years. And it just does not suit us at all. Bracky with a report from In the Ground, he says Robbo had an average game, especially with his first touch. That's in his opinion. Nothing deeper. I could not agree more, Chris. I was saying to Kev before we came live that I think that's about the worst game I've seen Robertson play for us.
In a while. He's another one that's got to learn this position. It's different playing as a centre back, playing as a centre back in the back three. The very first one that he did, we tracked the ball and he thought he had more time than he did, and I think it was Kulusevski got to him. And you can't make mistakes like that when you're the last man.
Nope.
You cannot allow yourself. You have to be able to protect the ball and move it in almost one touch into. You take your first touch into safety, and the second one is to pass it off. I mean, even Virgil, with some of his passing, you expect some of his longer range passing to be a bit better. The passes were all there to be hit, but they were all difficult passes, because Spurs wide, whoever was playing, it was usually Perisic, because Perisic is so tall. To hit Salah from that kind of an angle, you have to be really good. It has to be perfect, inch perfect all the time, and they're never going to be. But at the same time, the other thing that didn't happen when we started to fade out again was we tried to stop getting involved in the play. And when he's not on the ball and he's not being effective in midfield, then he's in the halfway house. He doesn't know whether to stick or twist, stay in midfield, or be ready to drop back into right back. And he looked like he was stuck in between the two, didn't know what to do. Yeah. But at the same time, we couldn't get the ball to him in places where he could affect the game as well. So,
yeah. So, I mean, we get to just over the hour mark, and Brack says here, thought Jota and Henderson subs helped. I don't think Nunes was effective today. Before anyone says it, Nunes can play as a 9 or as left wing like he did for Benfica. So 62 minutes, we see Henderson and Jota come onto the field. Harvey Elliott and Lucho make way for them. And I did think it helped. I mean, obviously, if you're looking to be defensively solid, replacing a Harvey Elliott with a Jordan Henderson is always going to help, regardless of how knackered Hendo's legs are for 31 years old.
Yeah, Henderson came on and he was fine. The one thing that frustrated me more than anything was before the end, like you said it earlier, the foul Tierney gave a foul for Davies on Salah when it was Davies who hauled Salah to the ground. The very next possession the Spurs had was the ball into where Milner was, where Milner gave up the foul for their free kick to score the third goal. Yep. That should have been a free kick the other way. Exactly. And that third goal doesn't happen. Yep. It's little things like, and that's what Klopp's frustration stirred from, and that's what the frustration came from, because it was on their side of the pitch. They could clearly see Davies pulling Salah down, and the linesman is right there, and he just doesn't give it. And the fact that he gave it the other way just tells me that Paul Tierney hasn't got a clue what he's doing. It was pure guesswork on his part. He didn't have a Scooby as to what was going on, because he couldn't see it, so he guessed. And it ended up, it fell for their third goal. And I don't think we could have defended that third goal any better. Richarlison's run was absolutely perfect.
It was. When you looked at
close. No, but when you looked at the line for the offside, they were like that.
Yeah.
And you have to hold the line. You either have to hold the line or drop.
Yeah.
You have to make the decision. And if you decide to hold the line and someone makes the run and the run is perfect and they get a goal, hands up. A lot of things have to go right for that to happen. And more often than not, it doesn't. But they've made the decision to stick with the high line and to try to play the percentages with the offsides. And so be it. It was a really good run, finished it, and then he goes off with his little duck face fucking celebration, takes his top off, and ultimately looked like a right clown.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course he did.
That's the icing on the cake for me.
It is. I mean, we've kind of skipped over their second goal, but you referred to it there. If you're going to play that high line, you have to do it absolutely perfectly, and we did not do that for their second goal. Robertson, maybe even Kanate is playing Son just onside, but Robertson is playing him miles onside. And that's not something that I can recall seeing too often. Like, our offside trap last season was fantastic. Maybe the best ever, certainly the best in the league. It might have been the best in the world at the time, but it might have been one of the best offside lines ever. We were so tuned into it. And if it did get caught out, it was rarely, if ever, Robertson. If it was going to be one of the fullbacks, it would be Trent. That would be just that little bit later, pulling up on the line and drawing them all offside.
Yeah.
This one, he was, and again, this is why I said I thought Robertson had about one of his worst games. It doesn't mean that I don't love Robertson. I mean, all you have to do is go back to when he laughed in Jordan Pickford's face. He deserves a statue outside of the stadium just for that and that alone. Heung-min Son, I mean, it's all too easy. And Brian O'Halloran early on in the show, he said Son scores the same goal against us every season. Never wins though, does he? And people think that Kane has wasted his career. Son is a year older than Kane. Well, I mean, Thelma and Louise hold hands and waste their career and drive off of the cliff at Tottenham Hotspur for all I care. Lovely finish. I like him and Son. I think he's a good player. He's had a pretty terrible season. Good finish by him, but it was just coming. Like, it was always coming. After they score, they get ready for making their substitutions. And I put it into our Telegram chat. I wrote, quote, "Fuck me if Richarlison scores." And that was at 79 minutes. Shortly after I wrote that down, though, the other big talking point of the game, Jota puts a high boot in. He gets to the ball first, but he catches Oliver Skip right clean in the side of the head. Should have been a red card, probably.
If it was a red card, I wouldn't argue about it.
Yeah.
Mane
never gets overturned.
Mane got something similar for the one he had on Ederson.
I don't think, did he get the ball though?
No, he got Ederson's head.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, do you remember there used to be a wrestler called Big John Studd? And Big John Studd that was his finishing move, big boot to the head.
The big boot, yeah.
And it was that. The only thing that saved Jota was Skip was ducking into the ball. But at the same time, his foot was dangerously high. And if it was given, I wouldn't argue with it. I really would. I genuinely wouldn't. And I said it at the time. And, I'm pretty fucking straight when it comes to things like that. If I see something that I think it's a red card, I'll say it's a red card. Doesn't matter who it's on or what team it is. But yeah, if it was a red, it was given a red, wouldn't argue with it. It was a horrible, horrible tackle, to be honest. Well, it wasn't a tackle; it was a fucking assault.
Yeah,
let's call it what it was. Jota shouldn't have had his foot anywhere near that high.
No, and Brian O'Halloran says Skip and Jota probably both should have been sent off.
Yeah,
so it cancels
out. Exactly. The one on Diaz was a real nasty one.
Yeah, and it keeps Spurs fans from being too sanctimonious in their complaints that it should have been. They should have had the man advantage because shouldn't have.
The other way to look at that one, it probably won't do Luis Diaz any harm to get clattered, and to realize, I'm okay.
And he bounced back up very well,
and he did. How do you think he got on overall?
I mean, he flitted in and out of the game, I thought. I mean, I think finishing his goal was lovely. It showed really, really good awareness to be in that position to score because he's nominally the left winger. And he popped up pretty much level with the right-hand goalpost when we're attacking the ball. So that's good because you'd almost expect your left winger to be coming in back post, and Gakpo would have needed to kind of do a loopy Henderson back post cross to get the ball to him. But he he really likes cutting into the middle of the field. Like this was obvious before he picked up his injury at the start of this season, and even last year after we signed him in January, that he really likes getting the ball and making that straight horizontal run across the field and changing the position of the team. He's getting there. But I mean, like you said, like when that tackle happened, I was terrified.
Heart and mouth.
Terrified.
Craig Lowe puts a point in here, and I don't know if anyone has seen the post-match comments from Klopp, but he's saying that Klopp went back through previous games, pointing out Tierney was the ref for the non-Kane red card. But the one on Robertson that time.
Yeah, that's Jono made the same comment that he was making it up for not giving Kane a red card in the game last season because, Harry Kane doesn't have a history of making those kind of tackles. So I guess neither does Diogo Jota. So you can't, if a guy's never had a red card before, you can't give him one now. I mean, it's the same sort of BS that Eric Ten Hag rolled out when Casemiro got his straight red card. That, he played all those years in Spain and he never got a red card.
Yeah.
So who gives a shit? A red card is a red card. Like it's silly. But I like that he wasn't down on the ground. He didn't, he just got up and he got back on with his game. So it's good to get him back into the run of things. I think the goal will do him the world of good. And it just gives us that one more option. And hopefully there's some friendly competition, some intra-South American competition between Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez, and they can push each other on and spur each other to be that much better. Because, I mean, I should jump ahead to when he came onto the field. Again, a very ineffective substitute performance from Darwin Núñez. And I really thought he could get some joy against this Spurs defense because, again, they're shit.
But at the same time, how many times did he get the ball in a position where he could run at players?
Just about, I think, one.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're coming on for 20 minutes to go, I was more impressed with the fact that he was harrying players, trying to win the ball back, trying to press players, being aggressive. That I was fine with that.
Yeah.
He didn't really get a chance to get the ball at his feet and isolate anyone and run one-on-one against them. But I think he needs a start. He definitely needs a start some way, shape, or form soon, because his confidence for a striker is everything. And if that starts to ooze away from him, then it's a problem.
Yeah, he's going to be in some trouble. So, I mean, we already touched on it, but just after we go into added on time, somehow Mo isn't fouled. Then Milner does what Milner does, and even though it led to a goal, I'm still totally happy with James Milner absolutely putting his foot through Harry Kane. It's just, I mean, fantastic. So if you could have predicted anything and gone on bookmakers.com and pick up the odds for it, it would have been Richarlison scoring a goal and Milner picking up a yellow card. And then both of them came true from the free kick. I thought it was going to be an own goal for a second. I wish it would have been an own goal.
Yeah.
Just so that he could have kept his duck going, because with his stupid little fucking duck celebration, it would have been much better if he finished the season on a big 0 in terms of goals scored, because somebody said it earlier in the comments. Remember, they paid £60 million for this guy. 60 million. And what's even sadder is that I think Everton would give him the 60 back plus interest to have Richarlison back on their team right now, because they are desperately short of Richarlison. When they score and make it 3-3, Kev, did you have any hope?
You always have a hope, but
I
was sat there. I was like, don't lose it. Whatever happens, don't lose it. Because there was still about another 4 minutes to go. There was 6 minutes injury time plus the extra minute for the goal.
Yep.
And the substitutions. So 7 minutes to go. I thought, Christ, whatever happens from here, don't lose it. And if we did, it would have been our fault.
Yeah.
We'd have got exactly what we deserved for the performance that we put in that second half. And there would have been no arguing about it. None. But the fact that we went out the other end, I'll let you talk about it, because I don't really remember the winner that much, because I was busy at the time.
I'm not entirely sure how the ball got into their back four, but I mean, just before they had scored, Ryan Heterox Mason makes 2 changes. He brings Lucas Moura and Arnaud Danjuma on for the 2 nominal fullbacks. Pedro Porro and Perisic make way. They score, and then they try to go into a defensive shell, presumably to protect the point. Because at that point, that would have been a famous result for Spurs. It would have spurred them on for the rest of their season for the run in to try to. It was right there. I had to. They could have used this as a jumping off, and they still might use it as a jumping off point to try to ensure that they get a top 6 finish, and at the minimum are playing Europa League football next year, because I think that they probably need it. I think Spurs need to be finishing in that top 6. If they finish below Villa or Brighton, who else could possibly catch them? Maybe probably not Brentford, but if they're finishing below Brighton and Aston Villa,
Brentford are only 4 points off them.
Okay, so then they very well might be
same amount of games played.
So like they're now, as much as not having European football might benefit them in the long run, it can't sit well with their fans to be finishing below teams like Brentford, Brighton, Aston Villa. That's just not where Spurs are supposed to be, using all the air quotes in the entire world to describe that. But yeah, so Lucas Moura is playing it right back. The ball goes into their back line, and I don't know if he's trying to play it square to Romero or back on a 45 to Fraser Forster, but he does neither, and he terribly underhits it, and he wears the number 20, and he took us to victory because, my goodness, what a finish from Diogo Jota. Just nerves of steel, absolute ice in his veins, gets his head up. He gets one chance. I mean, people say it. If there's one player on the team that you want the ball in the box to put the ball in the back of the net on our team, it's Diogo Jota. And he gives it the full FIFA celebration afterwards. I mean, fantastic. Fantastic.
It was a brilliant finish. And once he cut back onto his right foot, it just had absolute confidence. And it was something actually that Luke said on Friday night. Forster struggles to get down to the ball when the ball is low, and you could tell he did. He it was like a big oak tree falling. When he was trying to get down for it and he couldn't. It was a brilliant finish from a proper striker.
Yep.
And the fact that Chris is saying there, that's 5 and 4 for him now. It's just rewards, and it just goes to show you as well what we've missed in him not being available to us, and the fact that when you take someone like him and you take Luis Diaz out of the side, out of the options more than anything else, and you still look at the fact that we've scored 65 goals this season. We've conceded 42. Our goal difference is 23. We've conceded way too many. We probably conceded about 15 goals more than what we normally would expect to in a season. But Jota is good for 20 goals in a season. 15 to 20 league goals in a season, and Diaz probably will get you 10. You take 35 goals onto that total, and you're pushing the Man City's goals for, and that in itself puts you in a position where you're challenging. It's crazy when we look back at the defensive frailties and everything like that. But you had 2 forwards who are capable of both getting double figures consistently. It's a huge loss. It's an absolutely huge loss. And plus the extra workload that you're asking everyone else to take on. It's mind-blowing. It's just one part of the total clusterfuck that this season has been, but it's a significant part is the injuries to significant players at key times. And, the fact that we got out of jail and we got the 3 points is all I really care about. Performance would have been lovely. It would have been nice if we'd have rattled off 6 and 7 today.
It would have been.
But I don't care. We got 3 points. The fact that we didn't drop our heads at 3-3, the fact that we got back and we got ahead again, shows that the side hasn't lost its bottle. It's suffering from a crisis of confidence, but it hasn't lost its bottle. And when they went for it, and they got their rewards in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, completely. I would be absolutely remiss if for the 3rd show in a row, I did not mention my new favorite stat for this season, which is with his goal tonight, Mohamed Salah now has 28 goals in all competition, which pulls him level with the entire squad of Everton, who have scored 28 goals in all competitions. So that's now the individual race that I'm paying most attention to at the end of the season, is whether Mo can outscore Everton for the rest of the season and single-handedly score more goals than them, because that's embarrassing from them. And huge game tomorrow.
Well, I ask everyone in the chat, get your man of the match nominations in, and as Chris has done there with his honourable mentions, he's given it to Mo Salah for his all-round performance for the 90. Honourable mentions to Jones and Gakpo. Diaz gets it over Jota. I wouldn't argue too much with Salah. I thought he was in and out of the game, but Chris was there, I wasn't. And you can only see so much on the camera.
Yeah.
I thought Jones had a pretty good game overall. But to be honest, it's tough. I wouldn't be going out of my way to give anyone a man of the match performance.
No, I'm going to abstain on this one.
Yeah, I don't think Alisson could have done anything about the goals.
No.
But I think his saves kept us in it when we needed to be kept in it. And his distribution was okay. But
maybe the first goal, it goes under. And whenever you see a ball go right underneath the keeper, you have to think that you could have done something better because you were literally in the same space that the ball takes up. Garmax says honorable mentions for Salah and Jones, but for him, Gakpo is the man of the match. He's just brilliant and getting better every game. I completely agree. As much as I'm the chair of the Three at the Back committee, I'm also a strong supporter of the Cody Gakpo is proving to be an absolute steal of the signing committee. He's fantastic. He's so good. Somebody mentioned earlier, I can't remember who it was, that pretty much the rest of this season is just preseason. Our preseason for next year has already started. We're experimenting with things, whether it's this new formation or the players and how they're going to play into it. He's so good. And he's a mainstay in the team. Like he's got the shirt. It'll be interesting to see where the numbers fall, whether he ends up wearing the number 9 next year. Cause I thought that maybe Darwin Núñez was going to end up taking Bobby's shirt, but if Darwin ain't going to be playing every game, it seems like the number 9 should go to somebody who's going to be playing every game.
Well, Dan Austin makes a point that it should be the guy who paints the crossbar and the post. I think that was definitely an extra thick layer put on for sure.
Yeah. Well, we didn't need it for the Son one because I've never seen a ball hit the post and come out at a perfect 90-degree angle. Like he smacked that one flush against it. Yeah, I mean, that to me, if I had to sum it up, that was a smash and grab 4-3. And I don't know how you do a smash and grab 7 goal, odd goal out of 7 game. It was.
But trust me, they're the games that you need to be coming out the better of.
Yeah.
And the fact that more often than not that we do, it is a nice feeling. There's nothing better than a late winner. It just means now that I can watch Match of the Day 2 tonight.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to watch it. But instead of watching that, I'll watch the guys in the Fatback 4 because they're all going to be back at 10 tonight and they'll go through this with different eyes and have different perspectives on what me and Matt have just described. So, come back at 10 o'clock tonight and see what the lads have got to say because I'm sure it'll probably be ups and downs.
Yeah.
For sure. Just like today's game.
Yeah.
There'll be plenty of ups and downs.
Rory Fitzgerald with his regular contribution, which we absolutely love him for. Klopp's post-match comments. Klopp says, we have a history with Tierney. I don't know what he has against us, even the way he looks at me. My celebration for the 4th goal was wrong, but what Tierney said to me when he gave me the yellow card, wow. So it'll be interesting if we hear anything else that comes out of that, because if we're going to hold the managers and the players to a certain level of decorum and respect that they need to show to the officials, that's a two-way street and it needs to go back the other way. And
I'm sure someone will lip read what Tierney said to him and we'll find out. I've no doubt that by 10 o'clock it'll be all over the internet as to what was said.
Yeah, precisely.
But
and
there is definitely history there.
Highlight of the game, Baz Brown said this coming up on almost an hour ago before we even started. It's going to be a difficult run-in now with Klopp doing his hamstring.
I'll tell you what, for a man of his age, and trust me, I'm not far away from it, that's painful. Yeah. That's going to leave a mark for sure.
He's going to need to borrow. He should ring up Leeds and see if the Lielza's cooler is available for him to sit on for the rest of the games this season.
Yeah, and, I don't think he's the kind of character that's going to sit down too much during.
It doesn't seem like he has the capability of sitting down during a Liverpool game. And Goldie here, Chris Golding was wondering if these were first Klopp fist pumps since October. They might have been. He's been pretty anti fist pump for a long time now because A, there's been not a lot to fist pump about, and B, he's really been playing it down. it doesn't help when that guy with the steady cam goes right into his face. Like, give him some room. Use the zoom lens on your cameras and give the guy some space to celebrate the way he wants to celebrate. It doesn't help having a cameraman be about 6 inches in front of him. So, yeah, like Kev said, we got the Fatback 4 coming up, just under 2.5 hours here. So everybody has an opportunity to go and get a refreshment and come back here and be in the chat, and Gav and the fellas delve into
this. Get the cans in the fridge. Just get the cans in the fridge, lads. You know the rules. Just get the cans in the fridge.
That's what I meant.
It's a bank holiday over here tomorrow, so you've no excuse. May Day tomorrow. May Day tomorrow. So
what are you guys getting Monday off for?
That's bank holiday. Labor Day.
Labor Day's in September.
No, we have it in May. We got 2 bank holiday Mondays in May. We got one at the beginning and one at the end.
That's right. The rest of the world celebrates the proper Labor Day, the proper workers' holiday in May, not what we do over here in North America, the 1st of September, which is mental. But yeah, so the show tonight brought to you by bookmakers.com. Head on over to their website, check it out for all your best gambling odds, but be responsible about it all. Nobody needs to lose their shirt over gambling on sports. That's just absolutely silly. Most importantly, check out the show description. You can help us out with our charity partner that we're working with for this season, the 12 women from the Dublin GAA club that are running the Dublin Marathon, raising money for breast cancer awareness. We're going to keep hammering you guys with it. All we ask that you guys do is donate if you can, share it into your social medias. If you need something to print out to put up at work, or if you want to put it on telephone poles around the neighborhood, by all means, get a hold of Gav at lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com. He'd be more than happy to help you out with some information. We're just going to keep doing it until they get there. I mean, they're willing to run marathons, so it's easy enough for us to do this little bit. That's simple, easy. So take 2 hours, get yourselves all back and ready again. Gavin and the lads will be back here with the Fatback 4 at 10 o'clock Ireland time. Kev, anything else before we go?
No, that's me done until Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
Back for a midweek. We're playing again Wednesday night, I think.
Yeah, we got Fulham at home, the second of 3 straight home games as we get into the end of the season. I mean, the results today didn't really go our way. Aston Villa decided to hit a downturn in form when we absolutely needed them to, and Southampton played like the worst team in the league. So Newcastle and United both got the 3 points that we desperately needed them not to get. But hey, until the math says it's physically impossible, let's just continue to hope. Liverpool, all we can do is just keep on winning. So thanks for joining us on Full Time Reds. Come back for the Fatback 4 later tonight. See you guys.
See ya.